Yeah, we good.
We're good? Yep, we're good. All right, cool. Come on. Hey, shalom, shalom. Well, really, Shabbat shalom. All right, first and foremost, I'd like to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kodash, and double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of great millstone. Well, peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so brothers from the Men of Valor. And today we have the Sabbath Sanctuary, episode 41, right? I believe it's titled "His Horns Are Showing." Okay, and the horns or he that we're talking about here is ultimately going into this system, right? But we have key figures that Esau uses to bring about certain ways of living, if you will, right? And as we read through prophecy, we know that we are in the time of pretty much Jacob's trouble, but it only intensifies, right? And we were talking about it, actually discussing earlier, all right, how Trump's tone, right, because he is the king of Babylon, right? He basically Babylon gravitate towards how he's talking, how he's moving, what kind of legislations he's putting out there is how the country follows, right? Executive orders left and right is pretty much shifting the country into a direction that's pretty much symbolic, or I guess the manifestation of the early stages of the beast system. Okay, so of course, as is written in the book of Proverbs, that a prudent man foreseeth the evil to come and hideth himself. So we're watching all these things as watchmen. And before you mentioned how Trump is starting to show his horns, even with how he's conducting himself with the press, right? If the press, which will pretty much symbolize, or in this case, mimic the people, because the press will have questions that the people might want to know or have the answers to. So if this is the kind of tone that the sitting president is having towards people who are asking legit questions about the lifestyle we're living, or things that may or may not be happening as was told or was not told by the president, they have the right to ask these questions. And if they're asking these questions and he's coming down with this type of disrespectful tone, right? He called the other lady, "You're a stupid person," like, and you could tell like she got hit by that, you know. But that's just a tone setter, right? How many presidents in the past actually spoke to the press like that? Like it doesn't really happen, right? Biden wasn't doing it, right? Even though he's a robot, he wasn't doing it. Obama wasn't doing it. George Bush wasn't doing it, and going all the way back. Presidents were not talking to people, all right, especially in public like that, right? It's an image that they always wanted to keep of being clean. But again, if the president of the country is out here starting division, saying that, oh, the Democratic states are the problems, we're going to go after them. We're going to be sending troops out there to go make sure that their cities are safe. Even though I don't like them, I'm going to keep them safe. All right, that makes sense. And then he's talking to the press in a very degrading manner. What do you think is going to be happening next to the people? And remember, during the shutdown, right, the government shutdown that happened was a month ago. What was he saying? He was basically saying, look, hey, it's going to be painful, but the Democrats are the ones who are causing all this. So, I mean, shit, let's play ball. If this is how they want to play it, let's play ball. So we listen to all this rhetoric. We're like, yo, this guy is not really a president for the people. He's not a people president type shit. Even though all these people voted for him, or it seems like, right, he's not really representing the people. And that's because the change of tone is what you're seeing now, which is going to be from, oh yeah, I'm here, I'm going to change everything, no tax on tips, we're going to make America great, you're going to be winning so much. So now, yeah, listen, we're going to come down upon you, and anybody who doesn't comply, we're just coming down, coming down on you. Like, oh, drugs, we don't want no drugs in this country. Like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What does that even mean? How do you quantify that? How do you go about taking care of that problem, right? Oh, there's a homelessness problem. This is how we're going to do it. We're just going to grab them up and give them some type of therapeutics. And if they don't like it, we're just going to, take them into some type of camp. It's like, what are you trying to say, right? Why are you sounding so rough towards the people? And that's because it's biblical prophecy. Okay. So we're going to start off with the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 11. And it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Okay, and this beast here is representing the American system. Okay, because those two horns like a lamb, right, is representing the two political parties. All right, you have the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, and that's how they use to enforce or bring about their policies or governing policies over a course of either 4 years or 8 years, or sometimes it's just a groundwork for the following administration to come in, as we've seen with Biden and Trump. Okay, so they both work hand in hand because even though it's two horns, it's still on the same lamb. Okay, now a lamb is more of a, it's humble. It's non-threatening, right? So that's how you get it with those so-called what they call that shit, the campaigns that they do for voting. I forget what it's called, but when they go around giving all these rally speeches and basically rallying people up, right? It sounds, very, helpful. It sounds like something that they're doing for the people, because it sounds like, oh shit, he's going to change the way the system is working from the past administration, all these different things, right? So it's a disguise, right? Sure, appearing like a lamb is not threatening. Nobody's going to pay no mind to that. It's like, oh shit, that's a lamb. Oh yeah, I'm gonna pet it. Oh, I want that. That's cute. I'm gonna take a picture with it. So it's more accepting, but it's actually a dragon that's disguised like a lamb. So now when you start hearing the voice of this lamb, you hear the dragon, you're like, wait, time out. You look non-threatening, but the things that you're saying is very, very damning. You see, and that's what the tone in which Trump is starting to speak in, which is basically a tone setter for what's about to happen later on down the line. Okay. So it says what? And he spake as a dragon, right? So when you go into that word dragon, all right, we always go into it. Okay, it goes into the word dracon. Okay, and when you go into a little bit more of it, it goes into the word draco or drake. Okay, which means it says here, it says a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan. We know what that means. But when you go into the word draco, all right, it goes into the Athenian lawgiver. Okay, and he was known for bringing down very harsh judgment for very petty crimes. Okay, so when you transfer that or you fast forward that to today's times, you can expect your government, starting with Trump, to start bringing down very harsh punishment for small, petty little crimes, right? For example, if you get pulled over by a cop, there's a chance that you might not make it home ever again, because he could just pull you over and say, okay, well, we looked at your papers. You're not up to date with your Vanessas. You're not up to date with your digital IDs. So we're going to just take you in because we don't know who you are. And who's going to be setting those kind of precedents by executive order? Your president. Okay. They could say, hey, listen, we're just going to be coming into your homes, and to make sure that everybody's safe, you can't have more than 3 people in one house. They tried that shit during CV. It's all going to come back. So expect small little things that you may not, think of it as a problem. Next thing you know, it's a huge problem, right?
Hey,
I did a lesson. Oh, you got
now
it.
just to add on real quick, I didn't want to select you for cutting you off. Just one little thing that they're doing that's becoming draconian is the fee, right, that they're putting in the airports for the digital for the real ID. Before at first they were saying, hey, if you don't have it, then you won't be able to travel, or then you have to. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to travel. And then they said, oh, $18, and then like 2 months, a month later, like it's going to be $45. And just like that, how it escalated so quickly, they're not going to stop at $45 because the ultimate agenda is for them to have everybody integrated into this digital system. So $45 to somebody that doesn't travel that often, right? Having to pay $45 once every year for the expense of not being on the digital ID system, they would do that. But they're not, like I said, it's going to be to a point where it's like, all right, well, now if you don't have this, you won't be able to not only travel internationally, right? You won't be able to drive now. If you don't have this, digital ID system, you won't be able to, buy things online if you don't have, digital ID. Because remember how with the YouTube, they were speaking a couple months ago, how, and brothers have mentioned it, seen it, that they want you to upload your ID onto YouTube for a certain amount of live streams or a certain amount of posts, using that whole concept of, oh, we want to verify your age. All of these things are all ploys to really bottleneck people into the system, because they, just like how they did with the CV, they use certain things. First, you can't go to venues, right? Then you want to be able to go to stadiums, and then you want to be able, to go to bars. But then it got to a point where it says, well, now you won't be able to go to work without this, without the C, with the V. So it was we always been saying that was just a live simulation to see how much they could coerce or pressure people into putting something, right, doing something that they don't really want to do, or or adhering to a system that was just put right on them out of nowhere, and seeing how people was going to react to that. But I just want to add that.
Yeah, Khan. I mean, you pretty much said everything I was actually gonna say. So that's beautiful. I mean, but that's the thing though. But that's we see these things, right? We see those little things, and we see, oh yeah, this is what's going to become, right? People see these things, and they're just like, oh, $45. Okay, yeah, but what if you have to travel a lot? Like you said, Zaquan, it's not a problem if you do it once a year. Oh, $45. Okay, no problem. But remember, these devils have an agenda. The agenda is to make sure that everybody's on this thing. Like this is just a standard. So this is more of like the creep, like it's called mission creep, right? When they slowly, like almost like gradualism, right? They slowly bring things in, but this time they're speeding this shit up. It's not slowly anymore. You go from 18 to 45 within what, a month, maybe sometimes less, right? So their job is to what? Is to annoy people, is to frustrate you, so that you're like, fuck, let me just, I don't want to pay no 45. I don't want to be standing here every day. And guess what? Some people who might opt to pay 40 for the 45, you know what happens? They pulled you off the line, and then they waste your time, frustrate you. So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna just pay the 45 and leave. Fuck it, it's $45. Nah. They're gonna make sure that the whole process of just paying that 45 is so painful, so annoying. You might damn near leaving, miss your flight, right? All because they have to make sure they double check. Oh, you don't have your digital ID? Oh shit. So that means we gotta go the manual old way of doing things. Meanwhile, the way of doing things before was fine. But now they're gonna put this new system in there to make it appear like it's simple and it's much more streamlined. But then those who opt out of that streamlined shit, they're just gonna double down on what was working before, but this time stretch it out a little bit more. So if you were gonna be in line for an hour to get to your flight, now it's gonna be 2 hours, right? Because now they're gonna stretch it out. They're gonna make you stand here, wait. It's all embarrassing because now people are looking at you funny. It makes it look like there's something wrong with you, right? They're searching you, they're patting you down, they're looking through your papers, opening your bag in front of everyone, right? And then you standing there. Meanwhile, people are just passing. They just scan and go, scan and go. You just stand there looking like a fool, you
Hey,
know?
what did Klaus Schwab say? Transparency. What if you have nothing to hide, there's nothing wrong. Like, and he made it seem as though if you're hiding, if you don't want to be transparent, then that means that you got something to hide. And going into what you were saying about being put to the side and having to see that people are going to look at you like, oh, hey, what are you trying to hide? Why don't you want to adopt the digital ID system? Same thing.
Yep, and like you said, we see these things as more of like the prelims to the C hit, because that's what's gonna happen, right? Those who don't take it, you're not just gonna be left alone. Like, oh, we're not taking it, so we just good. We just gonna figure out life somewhere else. No, 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 no. They're not trying to hear that. It's literally, you don't take it, you're an enemy to the system. You're an enemy to the state. You're a virus in our system, so we must eliminate you. They're gonna sick their robot dogs on us, drones everywhere flying, looking for us. We're gonna be main targets because they don't want us to defect their system. We're the defectors. We're the ones that if we're not in their system, we could introduce like, yo, that's the MOTB. Don't take that shit. Yo, this is what's gonna happen if you take it. They don't want people knowing that stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's why all of a sudden you got all these different things going on, kinds of crazy ass controversies, right when you start seeing them ramp up to everything being digitalized. You see what I'm saying? Ultimately leading to the MOTB. You see, but for us that see these things, we got to just keep on sounding the alarm like, yo, this leads to this and leads to that. And we're going to give you the full breakdown of how that's going to play out, because they tell you. People just don't pay attention to it, but they tell you. They tell you exactly what their plans are. You see, but we're able to see it for what it is, not what they tell us it is. All right. But you got it, bro.
Yeah, Con. I was gonna say, adding on to that, with how ultimately, the Lord is the one controlling the pieces, right? And so as the Lord sets it up, he sets up people that are gonna succumb, right, to these different tactics and so on, and those that are not, right, being the Lord's elect. And just like Haran said, when you really look at what these elites are doing, right, they're just really playing a massive game of chess, right? A lot of it is mind games, People underestimate how much power somebody can achieve by just studying and understanding how people work in general, right? How to manipulate people. The only thing about that is, it goes into a lot of dark psychology that they use on people. However, in order to really gain that power in dark psychology, you actually have to have a corrupt morale, because there are certain things that require you to go past what a normal person would say is okay to do, right? You have to basically have like a cold heart to where you see people as tools, and so you can use them as such. And that's what these devils do, right? And like we said, they don't do it themselves. All right, they have the wisdom to know what people to put in what places in order to actually get done what they want to get done. Now, with these horns that are showing, the thing about it is that a lot of people are still going over their head. They don't they don't pay attention, and they don't keep up with current events. And so when you tell them, it's like, oh wow, what, he actually said that, or oh wow, this, that, and the third. And once again, it isn't until the walls close in on people that they then try to look for a way out. There is no way out. Okay, you literally walked into this room with no doors and no windows, stayed there and let them lock the door and throw the key away, and now you're searching for a way out. And this is all going to be the doings of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai. So I got a precept here. This is in the book of 2nd Maccabees, the 5th chapter, and verse 17. And this is dealing with Antiochus and the damages he did to Israel. But specifically, it says here that in a roundabout way, he was only able to do that because the Most High gave him permission to do it, because the Most High was angry with his people. And so as this devil shows his horns, he's going to be successful in doing what he's going to do, because the Most High has ordained him to do that, and has, as the scripture said, given some of his people into their hand. Because when we read about these judgments, somebody has to play that role. When it talks about many perishing of famine, and those that escape the famine shall the sword destroy, Ezra saw those things. He saw people dying of famine and people escaping the famine and again killed by the sword. So somebody got to play that. There's somebody on the earth today. There's some people on the earth today that have to fulfill that role. So it says here, and so haughty was Antiochus in mind that he considered not that the Lord was angry for a while for the sins of them that dwelt in the city, and therefore his eye was not upon the place. So Antiochus, thinking that it was of his own power and might that he was doing this, didn't realize that the Most High was just using him as a whipping stick in order to punish Israel for their sins. And that's what the Lord is doing here. He's using Trump, he's using these elites, he's using the events that are taking place as a means of testing and a means of punishing his people, right? Even when you go back to the time of, and the Lord likes to do that, right? In fact, it's common. Even sometimes we do that. But when you go back to the time of Abraham, it tells you that the Lord, he wanted to tempt Abraham, right? When he told him to go and sacrifice Isaac, you know, it's out of nowhere. The Lord was just like, you know, I'm going to tempt him. I want to see what he's really made of. Even though the Lord prior to that acknowledged and said, I know that this man is going to be faithful to me and he's going to instruct his descendants to follow my ways. But yet I want to put it to the test. And that's what the Lord is going to be doing all throughout. The mark of the beast, the hour of temptation, is not going to be the only test that we're going to go through. It's going to be the peak. All right. That's why it's called the hour of temptation. But it's not going to be the only temptation. It's not going to be the only test that we go through. And that's why the Lord is having all these pieces being put in place and being set up with from the avenue of AI, like we were just talking about it, right? From the avenue of AI to the Lord actually putting that cruel Lord into his cruel mind, right? Like it says about in Ezekiel about Gog and Magog and turning them back. The Lord is turning that spirit inside of this vessel that he has placed here so that he can be the one to fulfill these things. Because it takes a man in that kind of mindset to give the go ahead, knowing that people are going to die or people are going to starve or people are going to, you know, suffer at the hand of whatever legislation that he signs, you know. But the Lord is setting him up as a whipping stick or a punishing instrument to bring judgment upon his people. So people may think, oh, we just got to appeal to him, right? We just got to try and just follow whatever it is they're telling us and we'll be fine. But that's not how it works, because they're not the ones in control. The Most High is. And in fact, by following their ways, you're angering the Lord even more. And he's going to have them bring even harsher judgment upon you. So finishing off in verse 18, it says, for had they not been formerly wrapped in many sins, this man, as soon as he had come, had forthwith been scourged and put back from his presumption as Heliodorus was. And that's going to be the case this time for the Lord's elect. The second they step, immediately they're gonna be put in their place and scorched. Okay, with that divine intervention that the Lord is gonna use to protect his elect. But for everybody else, as it says, whom Seleucus king, the king sent to view the treasury. But for everybody else, they're gonna get the Antiochus treatment. The Lord's gonna have them out there, and they're gonna get poked by the horns of this devil, because they didn't want to believe. When they saw the horns, they didn't want to believe it to be such. They said it was just Christmas decorations. It was just a Halloween costume, right? They didn't want to accept it to be reality. But when they get poked by it, they'll see, just how real it is. I got it though.
Hey, Slaki, just wanted to add something as you were speaking, where you spoke about how in that scripture it speaks about how the Lord's eye, basically was removed, from off of that place, which is really speaking about Israel, right? The people, right? Because the place was created for the people, not the people for the place. And even into to today, although Israel is not in the land, the Lord still, has his eye upon Israel, right? But only the sincere, true Israel, the Israel of God. And that is who, the Lord is going to preserve in this time while this devil is coming down with that wrath. All right, because you're going to have it to where these wicked Israelites, right, those that are of the circumcision and those that aren't, that while when the heat right gets turned up, they're going to try to call upon the Lord, but because they were they in their liberty, right, in their time of their liberty, they weren't seeking the Lord is not going to hear them, and it's not going to be as if the Lord can't save them. He's going to deliberately ignore them, right? As it says here in Isaiah 59, verse 1, behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither is his ear heavy that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he will not hear. Now, the question would be, oh, well, what does the Lord need to hear, right? What does the Lord need to hear in order, for this to make sense? You're going to be crying unto the Lord, right? Because right now people aren't crying unto the Lord, right? People aren't looking for salvation, right, from the Heavenly Father, Bashim Yahushai, except right the elect. Because everybody right now is in their liberty, right? Everybody right now is focused on the benefits and focused on the lust of the flesh and the pride of life. Meanwhile, you have this devil, right? The sword is being sharpened and is being furbished right in front of your eyes to be given into the hand of the slayer. But you're thinking that, oh, it's going to pass over you, right? It's not going to come down. It's not going to come down upon you as an Israelite. But nonetheless, the Lord has this happening, particularly for the wicked of Israel, to get this punishment. So jumping now to Psalm 17, verse 8, it says, keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. Right? Now the Lord says that Israel is the apple of his eye, but ultimately it's going to be the Israel of God, the elect. Right. And this is what we're praying about, and this is why we give diligence, so that when it's time, right, that this devil comes down, right, with that great wrath, when he turns up the heat, when the hour of temptation, it comes into fruition, right? When we had to legit live as pilgrims, right? Not just mentally, but physically, right? We want the Lord to look upon us. We want him to have his eye upon us. And it's not something that is going to be a hard thing for the Lord to save us. But if the Lord isn't even looking at, your situation, right? If he's not even, caring about what you're going through, then there's not going to be a way for you to be delivered out of it. And this is why it says in the book of Proverbs that when I called, ye refused, right? When I spoke, none did hear. So when your calamity comes as a whirlwind, when your calamity comes upon you and your desolation as a whirlwind, then you're going to call upon the Lord, but he is not going to hear you, right? He is not going to keep you, right? Reading on verse 9, it says, from the wicked that oppress me. See, this is yeah, you have Satan, the spiritual demon that is active, but he works through people, right? And the chief man that he works through is Esau Edom. But then Esau has his messengers, and even some of those messengers are Israelites. That's why the scripture speaks about they have become enemies, right, for the gospel, or enemies unto the gospel. You see? So the wicked that oppress me from my deadly enemies who compass me about. And you got these, false teachers that are speaking about, oh, the enemies aren't the nations of people, right? Or they're particular individuals. No, the enemies are all of these nations, right, that are outside of Israel. And even within Israel, the wicked of Israel are our enemies as well. But we see that the wicked, right, as it says here, that oppress me, who is fulfilling his role? Like how the brother was speaking about the various roles that the Lord has. Who is fulfilling the role of the oppressor? When you think secularly about the oppressor, you don't think about Libya, right? You're not thinking about Somalia or China. You're thinking everybody thinks about Esau, and he's been oppressing Israel, from the jump. But you see how this cruel Lord is moving. He's going out to oppress the world, right? He is oppressing everybody, calling shitholes and garbage countries. Every brown nation of people, which is everybody except Esau, he got a problem with. You see? But this is more specifically because the thing is, these other nations, they don't have a God that can save. We do. So they're trusting in their might, their own, and they might mention their God and might mention Allah. But as we see, Allah's not saving you from Amalek, right? You getting bombed over there in the Middle East, right? Buddha's not saving you. You see, whoever gods that the Hamites are calling on, they ain't going to be saving you. But Israel has a God that saves. And this is the God that we are exalting. This is the name, right? The name of our God that we are magnifying. And it's going to show that we are the ones that have that knowledge, right? That the Lord bestowed upon us of Him, of the true God, which is why the scripture says that ye are my witnesses. See, these other gods are idols. So these nations created gods and then they call upon them to save. But when the time of salvation comes, they're not witnessing that. They're not witnessing the salvation out of the hand of this dragon, of this devil. But we are going to witness that, and we are at a position where we literally have no other means out of it except that the God of our salvation, the rock of our salvation, delivers us. And that's the exact position that the Most High wanted us to be in, to show forth the faith of the elect, because that's what it's always been about, right? The Lord said that I shall see their end, right? Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. It's like Deuteronomy 32, I believe. Um, yep, Deuteronomy 32, verse 28. It says, "For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end." Okay, those the wicked of our people, right, that are void of counsel, they're not considering the latter end. And the latter end is what we're speaking about, this devil is bringing, right? Esau is the end of the world. And in this time, it's either you have the Lord on your side or you're through. There is no other means of survival outside of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That is what this whole setup is going to, right? That is the crescendo point. Is it's either salvation through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, or you're going to be left here to be destroyed. You see? And you're not considering the latter end. You're playing games. You're using, right, the gospel for your own, vain glory, right? You're playing with the name of the Lord. You're playing with the doctrine. Okay, you're not taking it serious, but all the while we're seeing this devil still move toward this wrath. We're seeing this system being built right in front of you, right in front of you. And there's no other means out of it except the Lord has his eye upon you. It says, Salakia, that's not. I thought that was it, but that was a good one right there. But hold on, let me see. Um, try to find faith. Here we go. Salakia. Jeremiah chapter 30. I mean Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 20. It says, "And he said, I will hide my face from them." Going back to what David was praying, right, to keep him as the apple of his eye, right? So if your face is looking towards something, that means your eyes is looking there also. Right? It ain't gonna be that, that meme where you looking one way, your eyes are looking nah. Okay. It's going to be your face is looking toward them is because your eyes are looking there. And that's what we want the Lord to have upon us. So when he said, I will hide my face from them, in essence, he is saying that I'm not going to be looking at them. So whatever happens to them, right, while they're out in the field, out in the world, with these wild beasts, with the serpent that is out here that wants to devour them, hey, they're going to be left to their own devices. Let's see who's going to save you. So it says, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. Okay? And that's what it's always been about, faith and obedience. And this is the time where that is going to, like how we said, the hour of temptation is going to be the heightened point of to see who really has faith and who is really obedient. Going back to Psalm 17, it says, verse 10, they are enclosed in their own fat, with their mouth they speak proudly. Yep, and you see that, right? When Lord willing, we'll get some examples, but you see how Trump is speaking, right? How boastful. Scriptures talks about his look is more stout than his fellows. He exudes that, man. Okay, he exudes it. That to the point where you got press that are scared to ask him any hard questions. At what point in time is that even a thing? I was looking at uh history on what would be the equivalent of modern day reporters. And in the ancient times, during the Roman times, you had I forgot what they were called, but basically there were public orators or something to that effect that would basically speak out in public, right, and question what the Senate or the governor or the government would be doing. Now, it wasn't as if they didn't get to directly go up to, Nero and ask him questions, but their role was basically to publicly speak about the news and what was going on, and, have that type of office where they could report, the what was happening. Um, and then it's funny because it's also said that the prophets would be modern day would be modern day reporters also, which is what we're doing as well. Because although we're not literally face to face, right? We're asking. We're as the scripture says in Isaiah 13, we're going to be going to the gates of the nobles, so they see us via this unicorn, right? Seeing us via the internet, and we're reporting what they're doing and what they're saying. Um, but reading on, it says, they have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, right? Because they are lofty, they're prideful. They say, who shall bring me down? That's why it says in Revelation, the devil has come down upon you with great wrath, right? It's not as if he is literally right in the heavens, but the position that he is in, he looks as though as if that he has that dominion, right, to be over everybody. So when you're looking down at somebody, you're able to manipulate them and do things and control their lives, so to speak. Reading on, verse 12, it says, like as a lion that is greedy for his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in secret places. Right? Peter spoke about that. The your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, goeth about seeking whom he may devour. How is he doing that? Once again, with this whole system, everything that you're seeing happening is him lurking as a young lion. And they have secret councils, right? They have meetings. Now they say one thing, right? And it's something a lot of times now they're coming out and actually telling you a lot of the things that they're doing because they have to stand in that enchantment, right? The revelation of the method. Okay. A part of the sorcery is revealing what they're going to do and being able to do it right in front of you, and you thinking that that's not what they're doing. It's very obvious that what they're doing over there in Venezuela has nothing to do with no damn narco terrorists, but yet they keep saying it. But then why the hell you got 10,000 troops? They said they got 30% of the whole entire military is over there in the Caribbean Sea. 30% for one country. So that right there lets you know that it ain't just about Venezuela as well, because he's mentioned bombing Colombia. They basically are trying to take over the Western Hemisphere and put that on lock because they know that this war is about to happen. So they don't want a Cuban Missile Crisis happening. They don't want the Russia or China have the ability to bring their ships over to any of these nations, right, countries that are allied with them. So they're basically putting building a wall, right, all the way through the North, Central, and South America. Okay, but once again, people are just thinking, oh, the 25,000 people are being saved by each bomb that we drop. Get the fuck out of here. Right? Verse 13, arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. See, going back to what Bakar brought out with Antiochus. All right, the Lord puts it on the minds of these devils. This is why we can have utmost confidence and faith even in these times, because a sword can't do nothing unless it's being wielded. Right? I believe that's in Isaiah the 10th chapter, where it speaks about Assyria being boasting as an axe. Right? The axe can't boast against the one who handles it. And that's why Yahweh Shai told Pontius Pilate, you have no power except the power that my father gives you. But that takes faith. That takes truly believing in the word of the Lord, that he is all powerful, that he is almighty, that all souls belong to him. Because Esau will have it you to believe that, oh no, you got free will, you get to do whatever you want. That nah. Because if that was the case, we would have been through. If you wanted to do whatever you want, Jake would have been done. But you can't. We would have never gotten this knowledge if you could just do whatever you want to do. It says, from men which are thy hand. O Lord, from men of the world. What age are we living in? We're living in the age of Esau. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, which have their portion in this life, whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasures. They are full of children and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. Right? But the point is what? That they have their portion in this life. That is why what they boast in is the things of this world, of this life. Yeah, they try to masquerade like they're Christians, but every time they speak about that, they never talk about the kingdom to come. They never talk about the kingdom of heaven. They use Christianity to boast in America, boast in this age, this time. So how in the hell are you speaking, thinking about the kingdom of Christ? When you tell Christ, I guess Christ about to come and reign in DC, huh? That's where he about to set up his kingdom. Where they said this is the New Jerusalem. So, which I got it. I got it.
Yeah, I got a quick precept to back you up. Both of you actually. It's a book of Proverbs, chapter 21, and verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right. So going back to the point that Yahweh has made, right, in the sense that ultimately all decisions are made by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, Esau can't make a decision that the Lord hasn't approved of. Just like Satan can't make a move, all right, without the Lord's approval. Okay, the Lord gives him jurisdiction. All right, you have power over this, this, and that. Do what you will that seems right, that's applicable. But other than that, you can't do nothing. Like just like he did with Job. So it's the same thing with Esau now. Esau's God is Satan, spiritual demon Satan. And if Esau is getting guidance from spiritual demon Satan, and spiritual demon Satan is getting his instructions from the Heavenly Father, then there's really nothing Esau could do, all right, if it's not sanctioned by the Lord. Okay, so ultimately, when it's time, the Lord is going to put the spirit on these devils to make that move. And that's how you're going to know that the elect have already been sealed, like it's over with, because that's what Ezekiel 9, the ninth chapter, all right, going into the mark of exemption from judgment. So until the men of the Lord, or the elect, I should say, are completely sealed and covered, okay, the Lord is going to hold things up a little bit more. Okay, he's gonna hold things up a little bit, but as the breaches are being closed, you start seeing the cracks widen. You see what I'm saying? Like the dam is about to break, you're gonna start seeing the cracks widen. You're gonna see the water flow a little bit more. You see what I'm saying? You're like, yo, that dam is almost broken, man. Like, yo, we gotta go. So right now you got people just sitting there living life, driving like ain't nothing going on. They got their kids riding their little bikes in the street and shit. They're like, yo, the dam is breaking. You don't want to move from there. The dam is the cracks on the dam is this devil's tomb, right? And very soon, when it breaks, it's gonna come out like a flood, and that's how they're gonna take over this whole entire place, man. So, like the Zaquan said, they're basically setting up garrisons around the world. Okay, they got all these military bases around, but they want to basically take over the whole entire Western Hemisphere to protect themselves from like alliances with countries like Russia and China and so on and so forth. But hey, ultimately, if the Lord said, which it doesn't really matter, right? Warfare today is not like it was back in the 19th century, right? A country can light up your ass from 2,005 or maybe 5,500 miles away with just a nuclear missile, and your ass is up out of there, man. All entire New York City is all gone, just like that, within 15 seconds, gone out of there. Okay, so the Lord does different war games, all right, in different time periods. And this is the highest time of war that we're ever going to see upon the face of the earth. Okay, and it's going to be done by way of thermonuclear destruction. And that's by doing that, the Lord is going to do away with this man's kingdom and this man as a whole. Okay, let's get that real quick. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14, and verse 4. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. Okay, and when you go into that word oppressor, all right, I believe it goes into the Hebrew word nagash. All right, and it says here, it says to press, to drive, to oppress, to exact, to exert demanding pressure, and that's what they do around the world, man. They use if they're not using financial means, they're using military means. All right, those two things is what Esau uses to push their policies upon the face of the earth. Right? How is it that you're gonna go to Venezuela, all right, and threaten the sitting president that was elected by their people, okay, and tell them that, oh, we're gonna make war against you because you're funneling drugs into our country? Well, where's the proof? Right? Where's the proof? And last time I checked, before you bring that kind of judgment, we live in a democratic society where you gotta actually, it's called habeas corpus. You gotta bring the person, all right, to court, right? Literally bring the person to court so they can also pitch their case as to why am I being held against my will. You bringing me over here saying that, oh, we're gonna do this to you, bring judgment upon you, but I don't get to say anything about it. That's crazy. That's not democratic. You see? So even their own principles, they go against it, man. That's how you create a lawless society. When the top of the top is breaking the laws, everybody's going to break the laws, man. And that's what you're going to see. Okay? So it says here, to press, to drive, to exact. Right? It says driver, taskmaster, ruler, oppressor, tyrant, lord, exactor of tribute. Okay? Hard pressed. So taxes goes into it, exactor of taxes, and so on and so forth. Okay? But the word I want to highlight there is taskmaster. Okay? Because the same word nagash for taskmaster, all right, or otherwise known as oppressor, is the same word you get when you go back into the time of Exodus, where the Egyptians were oppressing us. Okay, they set taskmasters upon us and so on and so forth. Same thing that these devils are doing today. Okay, they set up a system, right, just like back in ancient Egypt, but this time it's all digital, right? It's more easier for them to control. You see what I'm saying? And then now you're forced to work and pay all this debt that you didn't even incur, but it's just a system that's based on debt. That's the heavy debt. That's the ibadyat right there. You see what I'm saying? So there's nothing you can do about it. That's just how Esau uses to control the world through financial means. Okay? So it says here, it's in verse 5, it says, the Lord Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Right? And I believe, Zaquan, you made a point about how ultimately the Lord is using this devil, raising him up to create all this mayhem, and then he's going to break him after that. Right? It's like using a sword, right? Or I'll use a perfect example, like an eagle, right? The eagle will have a beak, right? And I believe the talons as well. And they use it for hunting, right? They use it to eat and so on and so forth. But after a while, they get to a certain age, they go up into their nest, and then they break off their beak and their talons, all right? And then it goes for a couple of times, say a few months, right? And then it grows back, okay? But the analogy here is they use the same weapon that they use, they break it off so they could build it back up again eventually. This time, Esau is not going to be built back up. All right. The Lord is using you to set up the stage, and then he's going to destroy you and show the rest of the nations, starting with Israel, this is why you don't do these things. You see? And the nations are going to see this. They're going to witness this, right? They're going to witness everything. They're going to be like, damn, like, how the fuck? This nigga had all this power in the world. He had all of it. We shall make war against the beast, right? This nigga had all the power over the earth. And this is what he did with it. And this is the result of that power that he had. So much so that he ended up destroying his own self. You know, the whole concept of the mad theory, right? Who came up with that? It was the Edomites that came up with that shit. Okay? They came up with that shit. So it's like, you can't reason with people like that. You're going to come up with a missile that could destroy me and you, and then tell me, oh, no, I don't give a fuck. I mean, shit, if it destroys us, it destroys us. Just make sure we don't get to that point. Meanwhile, he's doing everything to get to that point.
Hey, what did Oppenheimer say?
Oh, he said, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Right now, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. Right? That's literally what they do. Right, the son of perdition. Right, the man of sin. That's what they do. Their whole life is to destroy good, turn good into evil. Literally, be an inversion to righteousness. Be an inversion in opposition to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, being a rebel, being a anti-Messiah. Okay, all these things are synonymous with the spirit of Esau Edom, the wicked one. All right. So it says here, but you know what? Over time, he did a great job hiding that shit. He hid his identity, right? He tells people that, oh, he's white. You tell people he's European. You tell people he's everything but an Edomite, because he knows that the name Esau Edom and what is associated with when it comes to biblical prophecy. Okay, that this is the only nation that the Lord verbatim says I hate. So now they want to demonize the word hate.
Yo, imagine if all of these Edomites is never shaved. So imagine if you had this Trump, you had P. Hegseth, you had all of them, they just never shaved, and they were just up there in suits. They would look crazy. And they would look like wild men. You know, so that goes into them hiding themselves. And that's why they made shaving such a thing, because it changes their identity. It's like, yo, okay, you got clean cut. No, nigga, you trying to hide what you really look like. You would look like a real beast if you just was in your natural state.
Yeah, that's a powerful point, because like they literally do that in corporate America too. You know, like all the except for this guy, J.D. Vance, which is not really his real name, but whatever. J.D. Vance walk around. I'm like, you a politician? How the fuck you got a beard on, bro? That's not even American. Like Americans always, they got the clean suit, clean tie, clean shaven, all that bullshit. You know. But again, that's like the Zaquan said, that's another way of them trying to hide their identity. Okay, going against the scriptures to hide your identity. That's terrible. All right. But going back to Isaiah 14 and verse 6, it says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, right, making war against everyone. Okay, using their military might to cause war, and what they call it ethnic cleansing, but it's really genocide. That's really what it is, right? They make war. They call it today, oh, it's just a conflict. No, it's war. It's war, but really not just a fair kind of war. You're just using it as war games. You're dispersing a whole bunch of people, cities, towns. Look what's going on in Gaza. Okay, all because you have technology that you want to use. It's devil, man. All right, going around the world just causing shit, man, for no reason. Oh, today we have a problem with Nigeria. Oh, we'll go over there and just tell people that, oh, their Christians are being persecuted. Nigga, since when did you ever care about Christians? When did you ever care about Christians, bro? You're making laws and legislation against so-called Christians, really against the prophets, right? Coming against the Bible and so on and so forth. But then you want to turn around and tell the world we need to go help Nigeria and liberate them because they got people, Muslims oppressing Christians. That's BS. That's BS. And that rhetoric is not catching fire. So they got to come up with something else. Okay. Same thing with Venezuela, Colombia, all these different, Somalia, right? They come up with shit. They come up with, it's called wartime propaganda. That's all it is, man. All right. So continue, it says, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. So when the time comes, right, this tyrannical demon, when he's up out of there, that's what it means to have a revolution. Ultimately, Yahushua is going to bring that ultimate revolution that all these nations are going to rejoice for. Okay? Oh, finally, like, we don't got to deal with the U.S. government no more. We don't got to deal with these devils tricking us, telling us to sign all these agreements, and then next thing you know, they rip it apart and then come and blow us up again. You see, these agreements that people sign, countries sign, and then it puts them in debt. Okay, neo-colonialism, all this shit that's been going on, these devils been oppressing the world, it's about to be over with, man. All right. Verse 7, it says, the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. All right. That's synonymous with Proverbs 29:2. Okay. Once this devil is up out of there, you're actually finally going to see happiness on this earth. Okay. Like today I was working, and yesterday we had a huge snowstorm, right? So today, the sun was out a little bit, and I kind of got a little excited. So I'll go outside, and during the day, I see that the clouds. It's not really clouds. Like, I'll just say skies, because there wasn't no clouds out there. It was just the skies, but it looked like a blanket, like a sheet that was just covering everything, like the sun, everything just covered. And I'm looking up, and I'm like, this looks mad crazy. What's up with this devil, man? And I was getting mad. Like, I was dropping off my Eve at work in the morning. I'm like, yo, these devils, man, like, they made it snow yesterday. Today would be nice to have some sun, so shit could melt out a little bit, so we could finally drive on the roads like safely. This nigga don't go block out the sun. So now you're looking at it, and we know what they do, so we could say, yeah, they're blocking out the sun. It's not like, oh, it just happened mysteriously. Like, no, that's not natural. So clearly somebody's fucking with something that they're not supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? But who's going to think of some shit like that? Only a devil will do some shit like that, man. Talking about we're going to spend billions of dollars to block out the sun. What you mean by that? That's symbolic for we're doing everything in our power to block out the son of God coming back down here. You see? And we see right through that shit, man. Well, we see how much more the Lord, man. All right? That's why the Apostle Paul said, right, that the Lord's going to make a speedy riddance. He's going to get rid of these devils quickly, man. It's not going to take too long, right? Why should it take long? Well, they've ruled for enough time. 250 years is coming up, right? You've had enough time to do enough wickedness, bro. It's time. Your time is up. You got to be out of there, man. All right? It says, verse 8, yea, the fair trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us, man. Right? You got Gil Bates right now, literally in the Amazon jungle, cutting down trees, man. Talking about, oh, we're gonna save the planet. We got to cut down trees. What? Who asked you to save the planet, bro? Whoever asked you for that? Who gave you that task? Hey, Bill Gates, we need you to save the planet, my nigga. Who came up with that, bro? What country sat down and said, we need these niggas to actually help the world? Nobody ever did that. Nobody came up with that idea. It's them niggas that came up with that idea. Okay?
Hey, I had asked Salaki, I had asked chat, was America environment better or worse after the European settlers came? And it did, like, it went down a list of like the various different things that changed from before the settlers came into after. You got, mass extinction of different animals, right? The bison, right? They said the bison wasn't just somewhere over there in Yellowstone. They had to create that environment over there because of how much bison they killed all throughout America. You had a pigeon. I forgot what they called it, American pigeon, something like that. It's not the regular pigeon you see now. It was a different type of pigeon that was the prominent bird here. And when they came over here, they just completely wiped them all those pigeons out. The diseases were very few over here before. There wasn't really a lot of diseases that were over here. A common cold wasn't even common to the Native Americans, right? You didn't have a plethora of rats that were over here, right? All of the ecosystem, the water. They said that the springs of the water were literally able to be drunk from, right? You can literally drink from the Hudson River. Think about doing that shit now. You gonna grow. You wouldn't be able to do that. Like the pollution they said was little to none because the natives that were here, they actually lived and obviously Chad didn't say it, but we know through the spirit it said that it lived and coincided with the earth. So they always moved because it gave the earth a time to regenerate, to restore the land Sabbath. But this devil, when they came with what they call civilizing or civilization, it actually destroyed the land of America, right? That's why this place in the Bible is called land of Ophir, right? The I was thinking about this. I'm like, yo, Africa. We know that Africa is like three times size of America, as big as of America, and they're still mining over there, gold mines and silver mines. America had gold mines over here, right? 1948, what do you call it? The 49ers, right? The 49ers, the gold rush. This devil did so much mining that they literally took out all of the gold out of the earth in America. So all of these different things that they did, and they call it civilization. And I was watching the elder brother Yashawamba was going into how these devils now with Trump going back to him showing his horns, how he's really boasting at the fact that all these nations are wanting to come to America because America, has all of these beautiful things, and we got to stop immigration. But the purpose or the reason why immigration is such a thing in America is because they literally stole all of the resources from the other nations. So they don't have the resources in their individual lands that they once had because you took it all. So they have to come to America to get some of the benefits of those resources that you stole. That's why the Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, right? Rich coast. Why are those lands poor now? It's because you stole what made those lands rich. But I just wanted to throw that in there. So like,
No, that's perfect because literally through the concept of colonization, that's how they did it, right? They it was what they call the imperialism, right? So they think they're better than you, so they'll basically create a vassal state, right? And then they'll say, okay, we're gonna appoint one of our people to come over there. That's what they do now. Modern day is the concept of setting up a puppet government. That's what they're trying to do with Venezuela, and they've been trying to since Trump's first term. Remember, they were trying to put in this guy. Juan Guaido. The brothers remember that guy that looked like the Spanish version of Obama and shit. And they were trying to put him in there. You see? And then the people were like, yo, we don't want to deal with none of that shit. The same things y'all niggas did with Egypt, the same things y'all niggas did with Libya. We don't want none of that shit over here. Don't come over here with that shit. We voted our people in and we gonna keep it that way. We don't need America to come in here and liberate us. We never asked for that. So now they gotta twist it and turn it. But that's what they do. They appoint their own puppet governments over there, like what they're doing right now in Syria. Okay? Assad's pipeline. He's not. Oh, Russia is running through the pipeline to get to Europe. We don't want that. Gotta get him up out of there and put somebody else in there. That's gonna make it easier for our corporations to go into those lands and mine those resources. Right? Oh, Venezuela has gold. Ooh. What company? Well, Blackstone, BlackRock. Oh, you want an investment in some Venezuela land? Oh, okay, cool. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it through America. Nigeria. You got gold over there too, billions. Oh shit! How are we gonna get to Nigeria again? Who said what? Nigeria? Oh, let's come up with some shit saying that Nigeria is a threat. We need to go protect them, right? Oh, what other land got some more resources? We need to go over there. So that's what they do, right? They set up puppet governments. They go in there, and then once they come in there, they set up these new legislations that allows these corporations to come in and establish themselves and further destroy the land and the people. Man, next thing you know, you got this big ass Coca-Cola factory next to you. And there's a farmland that's filled with a whole bunch of chemicals. Water's polluted. People getting cancer. The animals are dying. And then farmers don't know why this is happening. Okay? Because you have all these fuck-ass corporations coming in there and sucking up all your resources and then leaving your people to die. And then you got people who are from the land, the natives over there, and they protest and fight back against all these things. But guess what? Once the government says it's okay for these corporations to come in and do their thing, who's going to stop them? You're going to go back to the same government and say, oh, the people are oppressing us. They're taking our land. They're not going to do nothing about that because they're bought and paid for by these corporations. So you got today modern day colonization, same shit. Okay, same shit that they were doing back then. They just modernized it. That's all. In the name of technology and like it's a concept civilization. Ain't nobody asked for no civilization, bro. All right? Like they say, oh, civilization started with the Greeks. No. It never did start with the Greeks. Okay, because prior to the Greeks, you had Jake that was actually living a civilized life to a point where they had to teach the Greeks a lot of these things. All right. We always say, oh, Jake was taking over Greek customs. Greece was taking over Jake customs, man. Okay. Same thing with the Romans. All right. And eventually you have when the Europeans came over to the western parts of Africa, they say, oh, it was just a whole bunch of animals over there and uncivilized people that couldn't even speak no languages. And it was just a mess. And like I always say, look, if that was the case, then you wouldn't have met nobody over there. You wouldn't have met people. You would have just met trees and animals. If we're just these savages that go around killing each other and we can't speak no English and we just drink brown water all day, right? That's what they say, right? Or y'all niggas are drinking brown, dirty water over there, and like they depict Africa like it's like some decrepit land. Nah, bro. If that was the case, why the fuck you got South Africans in Africa? Huh? All you Edomites in South Africa, why are you there? If it's such a decrepit land, why the fuck are you there? Why don't you just stay in the Caucasus Mountains? You should stay your ass over there, right? Instead of migrating and going to different lands and taking over, stay your ass over there, man. But don't worry, we got a better place for you. It's called the pits. All right, we got that for you soon. Don't worry about it. But yeah, brothers got it.
Khan, yeah, I had a precept here going back to after I think it was Zaquan, you mentioned it about how with all these things happening, which as you were talking about the the examples of how the earth was destroyed, primarily here when Esau Edom came here, these things are all like proof, right? It's like this isn't something that you're making up. You can go and look historically at it because, for example, when you go on chat, it uses information that exists to construct its answers, right? So sometimes it hallucinates, of course, but it's pulling data from history. And so the proof is actually there showing you. And ironically enough, those that are pushing that everybody else is a hater, all right, are the ones that are committing the most hate, atrocity, and abominations, right? And so when you go and you deal with all these things and we bring it out and we show it before you, we're literally showing you the proof, all right, which is in the pudding, but we're really showing you the proof, and people are had to let that one go. And people look at it and they just ignore it. What they'll do is when you tell them, they'll say, okay, well, how do you know that's true? Where's the proof? And then you give them the proof, and then they'll look at it and then they'll ignore it. And it's like, what? Like you did all that. You swore up and down that if we don't got proof, it's not true. And then we show you the proof, and now okay, the proof don't matter no more. And that's the mindset that they're in. And that's because they've been made to believe that whatever this devil says is true without proof. But whatever anybody else says, you need proof. And when you bring the proof, it doesn't matter. So really, you can't win. You can't win against Jake. It's nothing that they're going to understand. And that's why the Lord said that there are a section of his people that there is no cure. There is no treatment. They just got to go. They got to be, made again. All right. Now, this is the book of Judges, chapter 10, verse 12. And the Lord said this at this time because Israel kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. All right. Yeah, that's right. That cognitive dissonance.
Wait, before you read that, can I just bring out this quick precept to tie into what you just said? This is the book of Romans, chapter 10, verse 21. It says, but to Israel he saith, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. So just like you were saying, you showed them the proof and everything, they still gonna find a way to gainsay. Like, nah, we don't want to hear that. We don't. Oh, that's not true. Nah, I don't see that. I can't see it. You can't. You got it, bro.
That's right. That's right. And eventually, the Lord, he got tired of that, and that's why he said, "This is Judges 10 and 12." And the thing about it is that all we have, or most of the things we have now, go back to things that have already happened. But it's relevant because most of it is like a formula, right? Israel behaves, cause and reaction. You behave a certain way, the Lord does a certain judgment, right? And the Lord deals just as he implemented laws in the earth. You have laws of nature, you have gravity. Gravity has never changed since it was created. Anything that goes up, if there's gravity, it must come down. All right. If you jump off a building, whether you jumped off of a ziggurat, or you jumped off of the Empire State Building, it's the same thing that's going to happen to you. So you can't say, well, you're talking about gravity, but that was when they jumped off of ziggurats. Now we're jumping off of the Empire State Building, so it's different. No. So the same actions they did back then that triggered the judgments from the Lord, the scriptures tell you that he changes not. And so how do you think he's going to react? Look, if you get disrespected 20 years ago, you're going to react a certain kind of way. If you get disrespected today, you're going to react a certain kind of way because disrespect is disrespect. So this is Judges 10 and 12. The Zidonians also and the Amalekites and the Maonites did oppress you, and ye cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet ye have forsaken me and served other gods. Wherefore I will deliver you no more. So the Lord basically flat out told him, no, I'm not delivering you. Screw you. You coming to me? No. I'm not, because what's going to happen? It's like somebody that asks you to borrow money and they say, I'm going to pay you back, and they never pay you back. And they just keep coming back for more money, telling you I'm going to pay you back. And it's like, bro, the last time I gave you money, you didn't pay me back. And you're coming to tell me you're going to pay me back. Why should I believe that? So eventually the Lord says, no, that's it. Go and cry unto the other gods which ye have chosen, and let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. You see that? So that's what the Lord said, because you keep on going there. Clearly, you must have something over there. So if that's so beneficial, why do you keep coming to me when you're in trouble? When everything is sweet, you go there. When you're in trouble, you come over here. What am I? So the Lord said, no, I'm not going to deliver you. Go to those idols. And if they're really real, as quick as you run to them, worshiping them like they're real, if they're really real, then they should have the power to deliver you. In fact, that's what Gideon's father said. When Gideon destroyed the idol of Baal, they wanted to kill him. And he said, well, first off, who the hell are you to defend Baal? If Baal is a god, he can defend himself. He doesn't need you to come in and fight for him. So it seems that whenever it comes to things like vengeance or physical actions, these idols always need somebody to do it on their behalf. The Most High, when he judged people, he didn't need somebody to do it on his behalf. Look at what he did to Uzzah. Look at what he did to the Egyptians. He did that on his own. But somehow, some way, these idols that are so living always need somebody else to come and do something on their behalf. Oh, you destroyed our idol. We got to come and kill you now. Well, why don't you let the idol take care of it? I got one more here, which is in the same vein. This is Jeremiah 21:4. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, behold, I will turn back the weapons of war that are in your hands. And this was the Lord speaking against Israel at the time. Wherewith ye fight against the king of Babylon and against the Chaldeans, which besiege you without the walls, and I will assemble them into the midst of this city. So I'm going to give them the upper hand, and they're going to make it through, and they're going to come against you. And you know what? On top of that, anything you're going to try to use to defend yourself, I'm going to make it backfire on you. As he says, I will turn back the weapons of war that are in your hand. So when people today think that, oh, well, when all hell breaks loose, things are getting dangerous, I'm gonna just go take shooting classes in the shooting range. I'm gonna go learn, self-defense classes over here. But you know what's interesting about all that? When you go into war, or when you go into the military, or you join, let's say some form of a military of a country, they don't just train you physically. In fact, they stress more mentally than they do physically, because you may know how to fight. You may know how to shoot a gun. You may know how to defend yourself. But the question is, when you're in that situation, can you actually do it? How many athletes train so well and in practice, they're untouchable, and then they get to the actual event, whether it's the Olympics or whatnot, and they completely flop? And it's not because they don't know how to run, or they don't know how to jump, or they don't know how to throw a javelin. It's because mentally they weren't prepared. Mentally, they broke down at that point. So people thinking, oh, we're going to learn how to do this and shoot weapons and so on and so forth. These women, and the gun is gun butting them every time, but they still there shooting it. And then in a real life situation, they're too afraid, they drop the gun and run away. You say you took 2 years of shooting classes just to drop the gun and run away, and then your slow ass gets caught, at the end of the day. So this is why we don't put our trust in carnal weapons. We strengthen our minds and our faith in the Lord, because like in SpongeBob, they had he had that jellyfish catching net. He called it "Oh Reliable," right? And it wasn't fancy. It was literally just a regular net, but it got the job done. So he called it "Oh Reliable." And the Most Highs are "Oh Reliable," right? We go to him for everything because he is reliable. His reputation speaks for him. Esau Edom is always trying to use something fancy to try and pull you towards him, because at the core, he is not reliable.
That's called seduction.
That's it.
Seducing spirits. Yep, you got it.
That's right. Verse 5, and I myself, hey, and seduction is a powerful thing. You'd be surprised you have an ugly chick seduce you, and you wondering how the hell that happened. I don't know from experience.
That's because that's new box.
Yeah,
she ugly, but that's a new box.
That's that curiosity that killed the cat. Hey, so it says here, and I myself will fight against you with an outstretched hand and with a strong arm, even in anger and in fury and in great wrath. So the Lord said he's going to fight against Israel with an outstretched arm. In what? In anger. That's why it's gonna look like Esau is having, such. It looks like he's strong, but it's not really him being strong. It's the Lord using him, as we just said, as a tool. But the Lord is angry, and he's look. When you have a sword and you put it into the hand of, I don't know, your average Joe down the street, they might just cut themselves. But if you have a sword and you put it in the hand of like a ancient samurai warrior, Masashi Miyamoto or something like that, you're gonna think the sword in itself is like, people fiend after swords of great samurais, as though the sword is some great thing. Oh, this is a sword passed down generation to generation. Oh shit, look at it, shiny. It's not the sword, right? It's the wielder of the sword, because they could take a regular sword as long as it's sturdy and they could get the job done. So people are going to look at Esau like he's powerful. They're going to look at him like, damn, this guy's unstoppable. No, he's just a sword being wielded by the Lord. And the Lord is just very, very angry right now. That's why it looks like that. One more verse, it says, and I will smite the inhabitants of the city, both man and beast, and they shall die of a great pestilence. And the Lord is going to repeat the same thing, the same thing now, because Jake is doing the same things they did back then that warranted this reaction from the Lord. And they're doing the same thing in this time, which is why Yahweh Shem Yahushai is having these horns of this devil show. They've always been there, but he always got that little hoodie on, and now the wind is blowing, and now it's showing till it's completely off. And that's when it's just you and him. Surprise, motherfucker. Now he got you. That's it.
Hey, Khan. I had this here in Second Esdras, the 11th chapter, starting at verse 39, right? Because this devil and the horns, right? As we brought out in the brother Aharon started with Revelation 13, speaking about the dragon. This dragon that came out of, or this beast that came out of the earth, right? That John saw, it exerciseth all of the power of the first beast, and that first beast, which came out of the sea, was the ancient Roman Empire, right? And we're living in the ancient Roman Empire again, but with upgraded talons, right? Upgraded wings, right? Upgraded feathers, wicked feathers, and all these things. It's like a mechanical bird, so to speak, because you have the technology now, or a mechanical dragon. You see, so when the Lord gave this vision, which He gave it to Ezra, that He also gave unto the Daniel, He gave it to John, right? He gave it to all of the men of the Lord. There was always a resolution that came with the end of this dragon. See, and this is what we have, our hope in. That's why the scripture says that the things written were written for our learning, that through comfort and patience of the scriptures, we have hope, right? The Lord didn't leave this story open-ended, right? He declared the end from the beginning. So here in Second Esdras, the 11th chapter, which we know is speaking about the ancient Roman Empire, but that which is then is now, it applies also to, spiritually, it applies to this dragon, this beast, right? This eagle, right? Eagle face Trump being the face of it, this system that we're living in today. So it says, verse 39, art thou, so like you start at 38, hear thou and I will talk with thee. And the highest shall say unto thee, art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? Okay, in Second Esdras, the 6th chapter, it tells you that Esau is the end of the world. So the end of this age, right, the end of the heathen rulership, what Daniel saw, or what Nebuchadnezzar saw as that statue in those 10 toes, that comes through this beast that we're living in right now, right, which once again exercises the power of the first beast. See, because the statue is completely separate from the rock that Daniel saw afterwards, right? The end of this age is completely separate or different than the beginning of it that followed. So it's not connected like how the head of the Babylonians were connected to the shoulders. None of that. Everything is going to be new, and you can see various different remnants of the ancient empires in this empire. Now, of course, we know that you have Rome and Greek, but they took things all the way back from Babylon that we see here right now, right? I think over there in Hollywood they have a what is it called? Damn, I think it's like a like a arch that
The
basically it
Arthritis?
no, 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 not the Arch of Titus, but it looks like the Arch of Titus, but it's basically like a an arch that has symbolisms of ancient Babylon on it. I forgot exactly what it's called, but when you in order to enter into Hollywood, you have to go through this arch. So it's like they basically set it up as like you're entering into this temple, right? Babylonian temple, right? And you see various different things like that. The all of the obelisk that we see, right? The Washington Monument that goes back to ancient Egypt. Okay, the way that the Assyrians, historically, how the Assyrians were ruthless in their military, the Greeks learned that from them. So when you have Pete Hegseth talk about the warrior ethos, right, and they want to get back into that vibration, that ruthlessness, where he says uncompromising, unwavering, unwilling, all of these things, that goes back to a way that was already put on the earth through these ancient empires, right? That is why America is known as Assyria. It's known as Nineveh. It's known as Babylon. It's known as Egypt, right? So, reading on, it says, "Whom I made to reign in my world." Right? The hand, the power of the earth is in the hand of the. You got something?
Yeah, I
Nope.
was gonna
Okay.
say, was it the Ishtar Gate?
It might be. It
Yeah,
might
something
be.
like it's like an arch that they have in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And people, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ishtar
Yeah.
Gate, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
goes back to that. Yeah,
Yep.
well, you got.
Yep. So like the water, the water. Um, so it says, "Whom I made to reign in my world," right? Because the Lord created the world, and it says, as it says, that He dealeth in the kingdoms of men, right? That's why it says in Sirach that the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time He will set over it one that is profitable. We can clearly see that Esau is not profitable for the earth, right? He's not profitable for the environment. He's not profitable for the morale and the ethic codes, right? Because he doesn't uplift, he doesn't rule in the fear of God. So that is why the end of their time, the heathen times, is going to come through this system, this devil, this beast, right? It says, in the fourth came and overcame all of the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. See? Now, like I said, this is speaking in this time of the ancient Roman Empire, but this it can be also applied, like the duality, to this time that we're living in right now. All right, because it is in this time, this is showcased even greater, because Esau now does enduring during this Rome reloaded empire, Babylon the Great, he has power over the whole earth, right? Who can make war with the beast? Okay, and he's doing it with deceit. For the earth has thou not judged with truth. See, let favor be shown unto the wicked, but he will not learn righteousness. So he hasn't judged the earth with truth. They literally sit up there and lie all the damn time about their moves. And it's obvious lies, but because he has the power in his hand, he can do that, right? He can practice, bribery and lying and injustice and all these things right in front of you, and you can't do nothing about it. He can legit lie to your face, and you can't do nothing about it. So it says, "For thou has afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm." Speaking ultimately about who? Israel, right? As it says, thou dealt treacherously with them when they didn't deal treacherously with you. Going back to when we speak about the natives, how they embraced Esau, right, when they came over here. And what did you bring them? death, destruction, diseases, famine, and stole their lands, right? All of these things. You see? So reading on, it says, therefore is thy wrongful dealings come up to the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. Because just like during the time of Abraham with Sodom, when you had those the angels, right, where they heard a report about the wickedness that was going down in Sodom, and they came down to see if it was thus. Who was giving up that report about the wickedness that was going there? Just Lot. It tells you that. Who their wicked deeds vexed his soul day to day. So when your soul is vexed, what do you think you're doing? You think you're not going to be complaining about what's vexing you? That's what Lot was doing. The one just person in Sodom was complaining about the wickedness that he was seeing all the time. And we are now in that same lot as Lot. We're constantly complaining about the wickedness that is the wrongful dealings that are happening here. That's why the scripture says to set a mark upon them that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Because what is the Lord going to do? He is hearing this, the wrongful dealings is coming up unto him, and he's going to send his right hand to take care of that, to cause judgment, to cause righteous order to happen. That's why in Revelation 19 it says that Yahweh Shai, with righteousness doeth he come to judge and make war. That's not something that the modern Christianity is speaking of at the return of the Lord, because they're not speaking about the Son of God coming. They're speaking about the son of perdition being established via this idol this AI God, where this utopic, everybody's going to be happy. You own nothing and be happy. You look at all of these utopic, futuristic movies. They have everybody. Some of them have it mad dystopic. That would be the real reality. But then when Esau imagines, a life in the future, he imagines that everybody's going to be happy. Everybody's going to be, good, right? But it's like, what you're doing, how you're setting up now, how is everybody going to be good? What did Elon say? Oh, it's going to be some pain. It's going to be painful for a little bit, but then, it's going to be good. Nah, man. If you rule, this is going to be bad, and then everybody going to die. There ain't no part where everybody's good, right? Verse 44, it says, the highest also has looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled, right? Um, the what is that? Second Ezra 15, right? The hurtful works are fulfilled. So now these plagues are coming, okay? And these plagues are coming because you have fulfilled your portion. And we're getting to that point because of what you're boasting in right now, and the speed of what you're boasting in, and the magnitude of how you're saying it's going to transform everything. It's not going to only transform society, it's going to transform you. So that is a proudful statement for these devils to make, to say that they're about to create or reimagine man in their image. That is why you just had Trump come out with the Genesis mission. Like, they're putting it right in front of your face, right? And I did a video. When you see the emblem of it, it's 666. It's three circles, basically like half circles, just like with the World Economic Forum. It has the 000 and they have the line in between. It's all there, man, because the Lord said that this is the number of the beast, where it's the number of a man. You see? So reading on, it says, and therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body. Now, this is speaking, right, historically, about the government, right, the Senate and the government of the ancient Roman Empire. But this is the same thing now, like I said, because once the Lord comes back, there is not going to be any place found for you. That's why it says in Revelation 12 that Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought, right, and didn't prevail, and was cast out of heaven, or cast out of heaven, and there was no more place found for them. You're not going to have no Edomites rulerships anywhere in the earth. And it's hard for people to imagine that because all they know in this lifetime, right, and all they know in modern history is Esau ruling. But the Lord set it up that way purposely, just like how he set up Egypt purposely to show his power. Because what Esau has done is exalt himself to a point, right? Or shall I say, what the Lord has done is exalt Esau to a point where he believes that nobody can take him down. Who can bring me down, right? Obadiah. And you have other people that the nations and even some of Israel believes that also that nobody can bring him down. He will always live forever. Their houses are going to always continue. But see, that's why the Lord has the elect, because the elect understands through the Spirit, right, and through faith and through the words of prophecy what the latter end is. Okay. And that is what we are always considering. That's what these devils are not considering. But we are considering the latter end, how this story ends, right? Um, it says that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. So once this devil is ultimately taken out of power, right? Once he show his horns, which he's doing now, and then the Lord chops them horns off, the earth is going to be refreshed. It's going to be the restitution of all things, as it says in the book of Acts. Comes through who? Yahweh. Okay? And those that believe on that and those that confess that. And that's an important part of the ministry. That's an important part of their salvation. I believe, therefore have I spoken. But running that last verse back again, it says that all the earth may be refreshed. It may return. See, return. They're talking about progressing toward an AI state where AI is in control. No, we're going to return right back to the old paths, going back to the times of the garden, but with immortality, where Yahweh Shai, the Son of God, ruled out of Zion, and then his seed also will be joint heirs and rule with him. And that is how you get back to Eden. That is how the earth becomes a paradise again. And it has to happen through what? Being delivered from thy violence. Yahweh Shai said that, behold, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and a violent take it by force. Who was he talking about? The Roman Empire. Who was the kingdom of heaven? Israel. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And all of this is through what? That she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her, which is who? Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? And that is what we are, speaking about, right? The judgment that the Lord is going to do on our behalf, right? As it says in Isaiah, Revelation 18, just one script here, verse 20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High Yahweh hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence. And it's always interesting when I read that, great millstone GMS, is because the spirit of the true men of the Lord, starting with the apostles of great millstone that have the true doctrine, the main thing that we speak about is the destruction, the end of this place. These other camps, they don't really speak about the destruction of America, right? They're speaking about, the community, right? And the black man, right? And the black woman got to get together, and all this stuff that is not about, as the Lord says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all of that's going to follow. So what are the true holy apostles and prophets really looking for? They're looking for the Most High to avenge us by taking down this devil, this violent, evil, destructive man. So that's why it says, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. Going back to what it said in Wisdom of Solomon, Second Ezra, Second Ezra, the 11th chapter, that what? Appear no more. Because once this happens, it's over. Not what they're over there talking about, after 1,000 years, Esau going to try to in the kingdom, he going to come back and we going to have to fight. He's not going to appear again, man. This is it. But that's it. That's it for me. That's all I had there. Good. Right. All right. So yeah, so we're gonna close it out with that, right? Lord willing, this was edifying the water to you brothers, posting scripts and for tuning in. Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. In closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Radash. And until next time, Shalom to the elect.